Hello, moviegoers, and welcome to another edition of Have You Seen It? I'm your host, Denise, and before I get started with my review, I'm going to tell you who my favorite actor is this week. My favorite actor is Christian Bale. You talk about an actor who can transform himself into any character. Christian Bale is your guy. The Fighter, American Hustle, The Pale Blue Eye, and Vice are just a few examples of how he took his body and transformed it from very thin in The Fighter to a much larger individual in the movie Vice. So he is my favorite actor this week, Christian Bale. Okay, folks, I'm going to get into my review for this week. And I went to the theater to see this movie, and it was quite appropriate as March is Women's History Month. So this movie is titled Queen of the Ring, and it stars lots of people, but I'll just give you a rundown of sort of the main characters, the meat and potatoes of this movie. We have Emily Bett Rickards, Josh Lucas, Tyler Posey, Walter Goggins, and Francis Eastwood, and a whole lot of other individuals. This movie takes place in a time period in the 30s where professional wrestling, pro wrestling for women was illegal all across the United States. And in small town America, you have Mildred Burke, aka Millie, who was so impressed by the sport of wrestling. She wanted to become a part of that genre of athletics. And in this small town, she was a waitress in her mother's diner, and she was a single mother raising a young boy on her own. But her and her mother were, frequent visitors at local wrestling matches that took place, in their small town, in a small little barn or tent-like area or small gym. And she was just taken in by the athleticism of the athletes, and she was determined that that was going to be her dream. That's what she wanted to do in life. Now, of course, her mother was like, Mildred, this is not what women do. It is illegal. This is a man's sport. It's fun, yes, to watch, but are you seriously thinking of making this a career? And so she did. And she sought out a local promoter who became not only her manager and PR person, but eventually a relationship began between the two of them. Now, they had quite an age difference because he had a son that was about her age. So we're talking a young woman, let's say 20-ish. And so the movie takes place, it spans about 20 years because you see her son grow up to be a young man. And so she convinces this promoter to take her on. And, at first he kind of laughs her off, go away, kid. This sport is not for you. But she is persistent. And so he agrees to train her. And you see the whole training montage where he puts her through all of this extensive training, and she's there for it. She doesn't back down. She, does all the hard work that is required. And of course, her first, once she, shows him that, okay, you've got a little something going on. puts her in the ring against men. And of course, she beats them. She beats over like 200 men and lost to, I think, just one. So she had what it takes to become a female wrestler. So they go on the road and they're on the carnival circuit. And so she's one of the main attractions, and she's like, I'll take anybody on. I'll take man, woman, child, whoever, beast, and I will beat them down. And so that's how her career starts. And so they travel the country promoting her. And what happened along the way is women who enjoyed the sport as well wanted to compete against her. And when these types of fights took place, they then became part of this growing entourage. And so with wrestling, and I learned some things, but things that I thought were true, but, wasn't sure, but now I am sure. And what happens was, as the entourage grew with all these women who were interested, you have a group of women. Let's say there are 6 women. And so you have to decide who is going to be the victor and who is going to be the victim. And so this is already hashed out before the fight even begins. So you have the people, you have that fighter that everybody cheers for, and then you have the one that everybody's like, boo, hiss, boo, hiss. So I didn't know that that's how wrestling worked. I kind of thought, but I'm like, no, they act like they don't like each other. But in this entourage, it became a family, a traveling family of female wrestlers. And along the way, each time that a new woman came into the picture, the promoter slash manager slash boo was doing some extracurricular activities on the side. And so that brought a little bit of tension to the relationship between Mildred and the promoter. But she was so engrossed in the wrestling. I want to wrestle. And if you're not here to promote me and be the husband that you're supposed to be, do your thing, but make sure the money keeps coming in. So it spans like 20 years. And this is how, the movie went on and on. And you saw the growth in her as a wrestler. You saw women come and go. And what I thought was interesting, at some point during this time frame, 3 African-American women were welcomed into this entourage, and they fought alongside Millie and the other women. And so that part I did not know at all. So that was interesting piece of history to see on film as well. Eventually, the relationship between Millie and her promoter really becomes sour, and they go their separate ways as a couple. But as far as the business is concerned, she lost quite a bit when they kind of went their separate ways, but she fought back and regained her status in the wrestling community. And she was the first female wrestler to earn $1 million. So I did not know that female wrestling started as far back as it did and was as huge as it was and still is. Now, for me, I didn't even know this was a true story. So stay for the credits so that you get that history lesson here, because it's really interesting. And I think it's a film, it's rated PG-13. So you can take a tweener to see it, especially a girl, because it's all about empowerment, determination, resilience, all of those things. There is physical violence. So there was a domestic violence, domestic abuse in that relationship was prominent in the movie. So you're going to see that. So just keep that in mind. It's about 2 hours and change. And I enjoyed this movie. I didn't know what to expect, but take off about 15 minutes and we would have been right in a good sweet spot. So that is my review for this week. Queen of the Ring. All right, folks, I'm going to jump into my Nailed It. And I'm going to stay with this movie for the Nailed It because the costumes and the era itself, that time frame between 1930s and 1950, just, I'm looking at the wardrobe, the makeup, the hairstyles, the automobiles, everything was just, there were times in the movie when I was kind of not paying attention to a particular fight scene because they're showing the crowd and I'm looking at the costume. I'm like, I like that outfit that lady is wearing. So the cinematography, all of that, I was impressed with. So that is my Nailed It, the costumes and cinematography for Queen of the Ring. All right, folks, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please make sure you hit that like button. And do remember, we are available on BlueSky at HYSI. All right, moviegoers, you know what to do. Until next week, I need you to see a movie because I'm going to see a movie. Until next week, bye-bye.